Hey everyone, hopefully you're having a good day. My name's Andy. My channel is Finding Value. Today we're going to do our daily technical analysis updated commodities, work our way through the dollar, yields, precious metals, and commodity ETFs that I follow. I'll interject my financial opinions as I go. And if you need help with anything, check out finding-value.com. That's where I dive deeper into these sectors, individual companies. You can see what I'm buying personally. Um, and I usually give a reason why I'm buying things. It's not just out of the blue. And we still have a discount coupon code LEAP going on if you'd like to try out the membership for a monthly, 50% off the first month to try it out. Or you can go to the yearly membership where you get a further savings over the year. Let's dive in. Let's take a look and see what's going on today. We've got the dollar that is continuing its increase, much like we thought it was over the past few days. We have broken out of this resistance line and have been working our way on up in terms of the dollar strength. And I think that will continue, is what I am seeing at the moment. So that does look strong, and it looks like we could potentially go up with the DXY. Yields are the driver of this, and our stronger monetary response compared to the other currencies we are measured against is the resultant of that. So that does look strong. The 2-year looks pretty strong. We do have a little bit of selling pressure going on. It's not a lot, and I do not see a reversal candlestick at this point. So, in my opinion, we have to, or what I am doing is I think this will continue higher. The momentum's carrying us forward, and there is a little bit of selling pressure that we got the past few trading sessions, but it hasn't turned yet. The 10 years also up. And again, we are getting a little bit of these wicks at the top, signaling that there is some buying pressure in bonds or yields coming back, is how you want to view it. But to me, this does look like we could head higher still. We very well could pause here or do a retest before heading higher. And then the 30-year also up against resistance. That's that guy there. You can see we're right up against resistance there. And we'll see if we can punch through. TYX TNX ratio, we are still inverted and working our way sideways. Not much to really report in either direction here, and it's basically deadline. It's flatlining here of just moving sideways for this ratio of the 30-year versus the 10-year. Generally, when this uninverts, that's when gold does well. The buy points for gold are right where the spots are here. Looking at bond prices, we continue lower today, and that does look like the momentum is still intact. I do not see a reversal candlestick, so interest rates remain going up, bond prices remain going down. And then we got the 2 and 10, and we are still inverted. We did uninvert a little bit with yields going up. It's called a bear steepener, but we are still at a very elevated case. Generally, if we are going to go into a slowdown or recession, this would fall, and it does usually take some time. The last time we had a crash was down here. So I do think that this is going to have to work its way lower, and then a crash potential could start somewhere in that range there. Not time frame, I'm just talking about the distance here. Last time we had a crash, it was where this circle was there, roughly speaking. So this can fall, and then what you'll see is the dollar will fall, commodities will all go up for a period of time, and then a crash could potentially happen. But again, this could maybe rapidly decline, and I don't see that occurring, but it is possible, and we'll watch it. Gold up $23 an ounce actually looks pretty strong today. And the momentum just continues to go on up for gold. We're at 24.06 at this time. Silver down a little bit, and we've broken out of the big downtrend pattern. Could we get a return move? It is possible. I'm not going to state that that is the likely course. I'm just going to remain open and say, you know what? I know silver, when it breaks out, it really moves. And sometimes the pullbacks are brief and short lived. So I'm not going to state that we're going to get a pullback back to the 25s or even $26 level. I'm just going to say they're brief, and a lot of the times we get big moves to the upside in short periods of time. Platinum also up against resistance. We're right on that resistance line. This thing has based out. We went into the third hump, sideways false breakout from that the COVID crash. We broke out and we're consolidating. This looks like it's ready to rip. So I'm curious to see if we get a rip here in platinum. This looks very primed to go. And this fractal here looks very similar to the fractal that we had in that section there. Palladium, we've pulled back to support. We still look pretty good here. We're getting wicks at the bottom. People are buying this thing up. I think it looks decent. I don't know if we're going to get a big move in a short period of time. Last time we had a pullback like this, I would consider this top to be analogous to this top. You pull back to the top of the structure. So that is basically this. And we took some time to consolidate here before ripping to the upside. So I think it's a good price. I don't think it's going to go much lower, but we could consolidate sideways, over time to consolidate. XAU to gold ratio, we were down a little bit today, down about 1.6%. We've pulled on back. This could be a retest of the breakout. So think of it as a potential retest or coming through some resistance. And I'd like to see some follow through here. I have looked at some of the individual companies, and they do look pretty good. So their chart patterns look solid. A lot of the silver companies, a lot of the gold companies. So this ratio, I would expect it to break to the upside at some point, and move and break higher. The gold in favor of the gold and silver mining companies. That's what I'm watching for. We're coming from really low levels here in terms of valuations. The CRB index down a little bit today. A little bit of selling pressure, but still doesn't look that bad. Looks like we're just almost consolidating here before another move higher. And then the CRB to S&P 500 looks fantastic to continue higher. Just a little bloody nose day today. It's a small down day. We've got nice, good momentum heading to the upside where the CRB index is outperforming the S&P 500, and we have a long valuation runway ahead of us to continue going higher. GDX down a little bit. We're right at that resistance. We're coming back, and we're probably going to loop back around. I do not see this as bearish price action. I think we are still bullish. Gold is continuing to move higher, and we're just at resistance. GDXJ also, we've broken out on that, and sometimes we get a pullback. Our pullback is in process, and again, I don't know if we're going to come all the way back here, guys. But the pullback's in process, and we'll see when this thing turns, and it could turn immediately. That's what I'm watching for. Along with SILJ, we had a nice little pullback. Today, it wasn't a strong selling pressure day. Basically, we pulled on back here over a couple days, and we've actually strengthened. This is the start of the day here. We strengthened throughout this day. So I think it's possible that we can try to put in a potential move higher. But again, we need to wait and see in the short term to see if we can bottom here and start to move on up. Crude oil moving sideways. And again, I think this looks excellent. It is a consolidation pattern where we could break to the upside, and maybe it's waiting for the release of a potential drawdown in inventory to move on higher. So to me, this looks like a consolidation, and it's waiting for information from the market to be released to see if we get a drawdown or not in inventory levels. So I think it looks absolutely excellent still to move higher. TTF gas up 7% today, looking real strong here for TTF nat gas. This does look like a bottom to me, and that has broken out here to the upside and running. Natural gas in America up about 2.5%. We're still in the bottoming process, and we haven't broken yet. And again, we've got some negative pricing over in the Permian around there. Our boy XOP, yeah, you know me. Again, we've had a monster run here from about 127 all the way up to about 160. We're getting a pullback, and this is your pullback to the breakout of the neckline. So your neckline is this big boy here, and we could get a pullback to the neckline at $148-ish, somewhere in this range there. And it doesn't have to pull all the way back. This could be it if we get positive data, or you can gap lower and put a nice big bullish engulfing on it or something. But we're waiting for that turn. OIH also pulling back. You can see some short-term weakness. We had a monster run from the bottoms here about 280 all the way to 350. So that's a pretty big move. And I was anticipating a potential pullback at some point, and here's your pullback. So we're undergoing it right now in this OIH. Raw Physical Uranium Trust, a little bit of selling pressure today, and it is back towards the support zone that's holding. That's what the big wick is at the bottom. So if you look today, you can see that we sold off quite dramatically yesterday, continued into today, and then we worked and clawed our way back up throughout the day. So we've got a nice big wick at the bottom right at support where we're at. It does look a little bit bearish because whenever you get a pattern that's angled upward like this, sometimes that indicates that we could fall back further to the downside. So that is a possibility. URA also right at support. You can see the big wick at the bottom. There's a lot of buying pressure, selling pressure through here. And we were bought back up throughout the day. URNM, same thing. It was bought up throughout the day. We do have support underneath us, all this buying and selling pressure, and we are using that support right now. URNJ right at support as well. That's all the buying and selling pressure going across here. We're sitting right on top of it. TAN doesn't like the higher interest rates, continues to sell off because they don't make a lot of money and they need incentives and borrowing for them to pull this off, and that does look pretty weak. Copper sold off today 1.8%. Again, it doesn't look bad from a longer picture view. Big pattern break here, and we consolidated on top of it and broke it again. So I think it looks good, medium term. COPX down 1.4%. We gapped down and the momentum's heading back up. That's why it's a green candlestick. We've broken the trend line, this guy here. And again, guys, I would say that it is going to go up over time, but we could go a little bit lower in the short time frame. Lithium down, doesn't like the higher rates, higher dollar. Same with REMX, doesn't like the higher rates, higher dollar, and it does look like we could continue lower. The S&P and the NASDAQ, I think we're basically flat today, but whenever rates go up, these guys do not like it. S&P 500, it was a little bit lower today, and the momentum is still intact for potential selling pressure. No reversal candlesticks, still looks pretty toppy to me. And the NASDAQ also looks pretty toppy to me. Momentum up, sideways, bearish engulfing. We could head lower here in the short term. And this is a inverted bloody nose, which is a continuation pattern to the downside. KRE, which is the regional banking ETF, doesn't like those rates, sold off a little bit today. Same with emerging markets, doesn't like strong dollar and rates, selling off today. And XHB also a little bit of a sell-off. We had 1.32 million housing starts is what that data is. But it looks like we got a little bit of a wick at the bottom, so we'll see what kind of bounce this thing has. But momentum to the downside right now. MU also, for some reason, does not like increased interest rates and or dollar, and it is selling off as well. for the agribusiness ETF, and we could get a full retest or even further downside pressure out of this. The bearish engulfing on the monthlies. No real strong bounce here yet in move. Iron ore up a little bit. Looks like it's trying to put in a bottom and work its way on up. For iron ore, it doesn't look too bad actually. Nickel looks really strong, up 3% today, and that does look like it wants to go up and has put in a bottom. It looks good. We've got aluminum also up. There it is, a little up day today. And the momentum is to the upside. A little bit of momentum lost on this candlestick here. We went up and traded back lower, but it's holding on at the moment. Baltic Dry Index is sideways. Still looks like it's trying to put in a bottom and work its way back up. Right on support. We've got Newcastle Coal moving sideways today. I think this looks fantastic to move on up. I really do. It looks really good, and I'd probably be looking at coal companies already. In this section here would have been a good spot to be looking. Bitcoin down a little bit and still looks kind of rough for a potential move lower. We've broken out of this consolidation. 1, 2, 3, rising wedge to the downside, and that is a flag pattern that could potentially break lower. Put it up like that, I guess. And then Ethereum also sold off. You can see the big selling pressure move. Not much of a bounce yet. It doesn't look horrible, but doesn't look great. I still think the momentum's to the downside or sideways at best. But we'll see what candlestick comes tomorrow. And again, guys, I don't trade this stuff in the short term. SMCI had a big day today, up 10.6%. This looked pretty toppish. Like I said, they're going to have to get the plunge protection team in here, start buying up some shares, and that's exactly what they did. So basically, you could also put a trend line through here, and that has broken to the upside. So we'll see if that thing rips to the upside. And NVIDIA also up today, and it's been holding on, moving sideways at this current time. So that's what I've got for today, guys. Give me a thumb up for the content. Subscribe to the channel. Subscribe to the website if you'd like. LEAP is the coupon code. Sundays are question and answer session, 5 p.m. Mountain Standard Time. Love to see you there if you're part of the website, guys, and ask whatever questions you'd like. But that's all I've got for today. So we'll catch you next time. This is Finding Value.